multinational team talking to all of us. And leading this session is our secretary, dear Dr. Devnur. So please, sir, you are requested to come on stage to lead the panel speakers of your team. And the subject is so powerful, probably आप सब जिसका इंतजार कर रहे थे, you are all waiting for this. Regulatory and business opportunities, hot cake, isn't it? And of course, Dr. Devnur will introduce the speakers. We'll take few minutes by the time speakers join. So, by the time speakers join the dais, he would probably brief about the topic, and then he can invite the guests to the dais. Dr. Devnur, all yours.
Thank you, Raj. This is the last session of the day of today's session. I will start normally saying, gentle ladies and gentlemen. Why men only gentlemen, Sudha Reddy garu? Ladies all gentle. So as a women's liberation proponent, I will say gentle ladies and gentlemen. And Dr. Kamala Jayanti garu made a beautiful statement. It's very easy to trap men. Very difficult to trap, these girls and men. So, as a caution, that's why I'm trying to please women by calling you gentle women, okay, gentle ladies, okay? And thank you very much. Like, in Hindi, we say, aam khao, ped mat gino. Don't count trees, eat mangoes. But in our technical business of this kind, we need to grow trees, count trees, grow mangoes, know how to grow mangoes, and eat mangoes and enjoy mangoes. Therefore, as we understand regulatory, as we understand production technologies, complex chemistries, we need to also understand, convert that into business, sell the product, produce the product, make the product, reach it to consumer, then lab to land, the bridge happens. So this session is basically to understand some part of regulatory. We have very eminent speakers here. We have Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, Director General of Manage. Manage is a Government of India institution. They have a management school, train a lot of pesticide dealers, agri-professionals. So he's Director General. So we have a very eminent speaker in him. I invite him to the dais. Please come, sir. Then we have our beloved Professor Jayashankar University's Dr. S.J. Rahman Garu. He is a well-wisher for farmers and industry. He has been a well-wisher for entire group for the last 25 years as we know him. He's in all committees of state in anything to do with agriculture, crop protection, pesticide, crop production. So we are lucky to have him here to share his thoughts on regulatory aspects. Then we have here Mr. Ram Kaundinya, a very eminent management expert. He started his career from, Cyanamide India. He was a managing director. Then he was with the Advantas. He's a global managing director. He was Director General ABLE, and now Director General Seed Association, and a very, very eminent marketing and business strategist. So we have with him here on the dais. Thank you very much, Ram Kaundinya. Then we have a very interesting topic. We all want to produce in India to sell to within India and outside India. I'm happy to have here Jonas from Lithuania. Lithuania, for your understanding, is a country, please come, country in Northern Europe. And Jonas is from a company called Nando from Lithuania. Lithuania, for information, is in the North and Eastern Europe. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia are called Baltic countries, and they have a very huge agricultural legacy. They operate in Eastern Europe and also in Ukraine, Belarus. So we have a perspectives of, he's already a customer for many products from India. So he will speak on perspectives, a European's perspective of sourcing from India. Then I have a small presentation to share my thoughts on how international biological market is there. Then we have Tanmay Sheth from Aqua Agri Processing back to us. He finished, sorry. So we have this eminent speakers here. I first invite Dr. Chandrasekhara to share his thoughts with us. Thank you very much, sir. Please come. As usual, Akash will help. There's one Akash.
This to the back.
Yeah, Namaskar. Thank you, Bipa. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh Devnur, Raj, and all the delegates here. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to focus my discussion on very critical link in promotion of technologies, including bio-inputs, that is extension, agricultural extension. You all aware that on one side, we have 74 agriculture universities, 106 ICR organizations, 722 Krishi Vignan Kendras, which are working for generation of technologies that includes bio-inputs also. This is on supply side. On demand side, we have 130 million farmers, and extension has the responsibility of carrying technologies from technology generators to technology users. But on an average, if you take the transfer of technology, it works out to be around 25 to 40% of the technologies generated. They are in the hands of farmers. What about 60 to 75% of the technologies which are generated but yet to reach the farmers? So that is the main focus of my discussion. One of the important, my organization, National Institute of Agricultural Extension Management, which is popularly known as MANAGE, is dealing with agricultural extension management in this country. We are just trying to strengthen agricultural extension systems in this country through various activities. So one of the important, bottleneck identified in agricultural extension is lack of manpower. So to serve 130 million farmers in public extension, we have 1,19,000 extension workers. If you work out the ratio between extension worker to farmers, it is one extension worker serving 1,132 farmers. So practically it is impossible for the extension worker to transfer all the technologies and to reach all the farmers all the time. Now, to my mind, I think three areas are important for strengthening agricultural extension. Number one, you refresh the knowledge of existing extension workers regularly so that their effective extension delivery mechanism will be improved. That is number one. We have large number of public and private institutions, and we can take up that important task. The second one is work intensively on promotion of public-private partnership in agricultural extension management. I'm sure that that is the area of interest for all of you. We have large number of agripreneurs, agri-startups, farmers producers organizations, cooperatives, agribusiness companies, NGOs, and many more private extension service providers are working in agriculture development space. But hardly we have partnership with public extension system. So, in fact, I am very keen to promote public-private partnership in agricultural extension management. And we have created several platforms in Manage. You can go to Manage website, and if you are interested, certainly you can join hands with us. The third important area is promoting technologies through ICT platforms, promoting digital literacy among extension workers, extensive use of social media. You all know all these things. These three areas are very important for promotion of technologies among farmers. It includes, bio inputs also. So coming back to, in continuation this presentation, government is also very keen to promote bio inputs. If you look at Government of India programs, large number of programs like a National Program for Organic Production, Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, and exclusively for Northeastern state we have another program, National Mission on Oil Seeds and Oil Palm, RKVY, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, National Food Security Mission. So many programs, they are very only indicative in nature, but large number of programs are launched and implemented by Government of India in different parts of the country. Whether the benefits are realized by the farmers on one side, and whether the industry is aware about all these programs is another important issue. And you all know that agriculture is a state subject. And if you go to state level, this is only again indicative. In Orissa, we have Orissa Integrated Irrigation Project for Climate Resilient Agriculture. Similarly, in Arunachal Pradesh, we have another program on Chief Minister's Krishi Samo Yojana. And in Tamil Nadu, Irrigated Agriculture Modernization Project, they also promote integrated pest management and integrated nutrient management also. So similarly in Bihar, in Kerala, in Maharashtra, they are only indicative in nature. You go to any states, there are programs for promotion of bio inputs. So the main important the issue here is, do we have this information, all information about Government of India programs and state government implemented programs at one place? So this is very critical for BIPA because all the industry people on one side and all the farmers on the other side, we need to have all information about this programs at one place. If BIPA decides, Manage will be very happy to join hands with you, and we can collate all the information at one place, and so that we can place it in your website, our website, so that it is available for all the people. This is one important task, I think, on priority basis we need to do. Then, large number of agri startups are coming. See, we are talking about innovation. Previous presentation I was hearing, you are talking about pheromones, and this is one of the innovation, and in many innovations are taking place. And now there is lot of space created in agriculture development sector with the support of public system. Government of India exclusively launched a program called RKVY Raftar, where agri startups are promoted. Manage is the knowledge partner, and we are working with around 900 agri startups. And out of that, 216 agri startups were trained by Manage, and we distributed around, in the form of grant, around 70 crore rupees. So there is lot of scope for promotion of agri startups in bio inputs also. I have given example of few people here. Again, they are very indicative in nature. But if you want directory of agri startups exclusively working on bio inputs, it's available in Manage. So you can, we will be very happy to share with BIPA so that you can share with all the members. So if you have any innovation, so Manage can create a platform. We have two kinds of programs. One is a pre-seed stage. If somebody has idea but a lot of refinement is required, for those people we organize 2 months program and also support with a grant up to 5 lakh rupees. But if the idea is in the advanced stage and you want to refine further, still we have another program on incubation program where up to 25 lakh rupee grant is provided for agri startups. So you can visit our Manage website, and now also we have announced for beginning of these two programs. Interested agri startups, if you have new ideas, whatever the state it is, but you can approach manage. We will try to work with you. Input dealers, Raj was telling in the beginning of this program that business is very important. Input dealers plays very important role in promotion of your inputs. So who is this input dealer? He is an entrepreneur. He is located in a village, work very closely with the farmers, and not only he is selling inputs, but also transfer technology. Anything, any development is taking place, he is the link between the technology as well as the farmers. So unfortunately, majority of the input dealers are not from agriculture professional background. And as a result of that, lot of misinformation was also passed through input dealers. In order to address this critical area, we launched a program called DESI, Diploma in Agricultural Extension Services for Input Dealers. So input dealers, if you say, we give lot of knowledge, you close your shop and come, nobody will come. So these programs are conducted only on Sundays in the nearby district headquarters, and we charge around 20,000 rupees. Out of that, 50% is grant from Government of India. Another 50%, around 10,000 rupees, need to be paid by the input dealers. Today, we have trained more than 60,000 input dealers across the country, and around 500 programs are going on in different parts of the country. This is one place where we can pass on information on bio inputs, wherever programs are going on. We have developed a study material, and there is scope for including, literature on bio inputs further, even though mention is made, but we can also increase the content on bio inputs. And one interesting development is after the training program, once the input dealers learnt about INM, IPM, organic farming, and some of the input dealers, totally they shifted from chemical fertilizers to only organic inputs. I have just given example of one Mail Swami from Tamil Nadu, and Kubera, and another Durai Swami, both are from Coimbatore. I have given just example of some 2-3 input dealers. Totally they shifted to organic inputs. So you will find large number of input dealers. After some kind of sensitization or training program, you can find this kind of qualitative change. What I am trying to tell is, nothing can substitute, education and orientation. So if you want to popularize bio inputs, there is no shortcut. I think we have to educate this critical link. So Manage is the implementing agency. In fact, there is a window for corporate social responsibility. If any agribusiness company want to train these people, 25% you can contribute, 25% comes from input dealer, and another 50% comes from Government of India. There is, opportunity for that. So agripreneur is another breed we are just trying to promote. Basically, they are agriculture graduates. We are training them in entrepreneurship development because all the agriculture graduates are not getting job. Around 80,000 agriculture graduates are coming out every year. Only 20% are getting jobs, rest 80%. We are just trying to motivate them to start their own enterprise in rural areas. We have trained around 75,000 unemployed agriculture graduates across the country. Out of that, 32,000 people have established their own enterprises. They are the people who live in village, provide value-added extension services to farmers, and they are the best source where you can push information and inputs on agri inputs. The entire database of 75,000 people trained and 32,000 people established is available in Manage website. And if you want to encourage some of the agriculture graduates to take up their own enterprise, entire training and other cost will be met by Manage, and we will welcome that kind of activity. If some industry on your own you want to impart training to some of the agriculture graduates, diploma holders, so that they will establish their own input selling shops, to want to take up a dealership, Manage, you can function as nodal training institutions. The entire funding can be given by Manage. This is open invitation for even industry also. So once that they complete training program, they are eligible to get 20 lakh rupees loan, and 36 to 44% subsidy is also given. So out of 20 lakh rupees, around 8.2 lakh rupees, it goes as subsidy for these people. It's a great opportunity to promote agri-entrepreneurship in rural areas, at the same time to popularize bio inputs also. Here, out of 32,000 units, 967 agripreneurs are exclusively dealing with the bio inputs. And this classified information state-wise, if you want, manage can share with you. So there are other extension, activities are also there. For example, Manage being a training organization, we train around 50,000 people in a year. So we cover agripreneurs, input dealers, department officials, and certified farm advisors, rural youth in starting their own enterprises, and women. So like that, we cover all segments, partners in agriculture development. And if you want to promote any sustainable agriculture technologies, probably Manage is a better place. We will be very happy to work with you. Another set of organizations located at regional level called Extension Education Institutes. They cover around 5 to 6 states. Similarly, we have Samitis at state level. They cover each state. We have around 34 Samitis covering states and union territories. And they are also training department officials as well as private extension service providers. They are all the organizations, Krishi Vignan Kendras, Atmas, and Agriculture Skill Council of India, also conducting large number of programs. These are all the places where the orientation on new technologies takes place to extension workers, and you want to orient on sustainable agriculture technologies, your products, so this is the better place. Similarly, we have a National Institute of Plant Health Management, it's in Hyderabad only, NIPHM, and they do take up large number of activities in terms of plant health clinic and ecological engineering, and there are several demonstration units that they have established in different parts of the country. Similarly, there is scope for enhancing incubation centers and institutional linkages where we can also provide hand-holding support to some of the budding agripreneurs. So this is, in brief, I just try to give an overview of how agricultural extension system function in this country and who are the potential players who really matters for promoting your technologies. For more information, I will be very happy to address any of your questions, and I welcome you to Manage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhara, for enlightening the group about training, empowerment, funding, incubating, 70,000 professionals, dealers. We're immensely happy that our dealers are getting trained by Manage, and we hope our association with Manage will continue, and we get more trained, empowered trade members in our business. Now we have with us Dr. S.J. Rahman, our senior professor and principal scientist, to give us idea on regulatory framework. Over to you, sir.
Good evening to everybody. In fact, all the dignitaries on the dais, all the participants. This topic again, I told you that by being there in government side and that too to talk about the regulatory mechanism in front of the industry and the meetings which is meant mainly for the industry with the audience more from industry. Now, I will not use all the slides. In fact, I was told by the organizers also, there are a lot of contentious issues with regard to the, all the regulations and other things. So I will just flag the issues. I will use this opportunity within this 8 minutes given to flag the issues without going into the details of the slides which I have prepared. And I don't go by the numbers of the slides also. Only thing is that during the panel discussion and other thing, whatever you are having doubts with regard to the applicability of the rules and regulations, wherein you have some issues, problems, wherein flexibility is required. In fact, I use this. In fact, I have come as an invited speaker here, but I see myself it is an opportunity for me to take this particular message, the feedback from this meeting, to the committee of Central Insecticide Board and Registration Committee, as it has already been told, a lot of things are being re-looked into the Biostimulant Act, which has been recently on 26th of February, that has come into existence. But as rightly told by in the morning and yesterday also, lot of feedback and lot of flexibilities, lot of modifications, if they are genuine enough, if they are practical enough, if they are good for both industry as well as without compromising on the regulation, mainly quality of the biostimulants what we are talking. And I am happy to share those things from you by being one of the committee members formed for that purpose. So definitely this is an opportunity for me also to take this feedback. And maybe all the front benchers and all the organizers, I don't think I need to talk about how the regulation for biopesticides, biofertilizers, and now biostimulants can work. So I will rush through those slides. I think I can operate it. Yeah, I will rush through those slides just to tell you that what are the issues probably you can note down and ask during panel discussion. As you know it very well, we were talking about 3 Bs, biopesticides, biofertilizers, and biostimulants. And you can see that the biopesticides come under Insecticide Act, biofertilizers under FCO, and biostimulants as of now. Again, I am taking the very valid consideration and valid request from the industry to try to see that how the microbes can also be used in the biostimulants. Till now, it is not there. It has been well discussed issue, and it is being taken positively also from the government side, as I hope for it. So accordingly, otherwise, the same 2 things, the pesticide management bill, which is under to become act, and other thing, these are some issues which we are trying to see that. It is complicated. This is what is the general thing, and this is the one. Everything is shown in one slide, and every step I should tell, even though I am from the government side, that there are a lot of issues with regard to the implementation and other thing. We don't always see that the rules are rigid. Let me honestly make a statement that the more flexibilities we give by considering the practicality of the regulation or the following of that regulation, before it is being used by the people, which is for whom actually this is meant for, there are several people who will be understanding more before you people and taking advantage of those type of flexibilities. It is up to us to call it as whether it is a loose end in the act or it is a flexibility intentionally given for the purpose of the practicality, implementation of the rules that are formed. It is our own view to see. So, starting from the registration number, if I am to talk about the biopesticides, registration number from Central Insecticide Board Registration Committee, then manufacturing license from the state, as rightly being pointed out by my earlier speaker. Agriculture is the state subject. Whatever the unit, wherever it is located, the manufacturing license need to be given by that particular Commissionerate of State Agriculture, wherein they will be forming a committee, they will be satisfying themselves that whether all the required facilities to produce in terms of infrastructure, in terms of equipment, in terms of human expertise also, whether they are present or not, and on the basis of that, the manufacturing license will be given. And principal certificate, again, it is any state where you want to commercialize it. Then these are, again, I will not go into the details, all the different groups which we were discussing since yesterday evening to till now, that whether it is a bacterial organism, fungal organism, some of the other organisms also like antagonistic fungi. Some of them, they are not there. For example, you talk about entomopathetic nematodes, they are not there. That doesn't mean that they need to be regulated or not. That is the issue that where we don't have the quality problems as of now. I have seen several of the people, several of the scientific community people going to CIBRC for getting the registration done. I also have seen some of the scientists going to CIBRC trying to get some of the organisms getting attracted into the CIBRC Act. Because once the quality concerns comes into the picture, definitely we need regulation. So once the regulation is there, definitely what happens is that the genuine manufacturers, it is not only the government and farmers, end users will be getting out of the advantage out of that regulation, but also the genuine manufacturers. We have seen several days, several tender committee meetings, wherein I have seen a tender committee person who comes and quotes for 40 rupees a kg trichoderma viride, wherein fully we are knowing that it cannot be produced by that cost. Try to understand our anguish also, that if we have to separate out those people who can give trichoderma viride for 40 rupees a kg, and if you go by the CBC rules of tender committee, definitely he will be the L1. And I don't want to talk the language which I am not well versed. As per the CBC rules, the L1 will be getting the tender. All the genuine manufacturers will be blank placed. All the technical committee members with largest biodatas, they will also be sitting helpless. So we need to definitely correlate that type of things. All the organisms are there. Then technical auditing also will be done. How far, see, again, very honestly, I will put it that rule-making body, rule implementation body, they are different. Rule-making body is the Central Government of India, of course with the consultation with governments of state, but the rule implementation body is the State Commissioner of Agriculture, where the rules need to be really looked into. So we need to work together. So these are some of the, again, then with regard to the production, in fact, I add one more angle when I was listening to the earlier last session, when discussion was there, compatibility issues. Consortium is another issue. Mixing of chemical pesticides with biopesticides, whether it is a tank mix, whether it is a field mix, no problem. But if it is a mix and then packeted, then definitely whole story starts from A again. The reason, because it becomes a third product. It is not the product 1, it is not the product 2. The mixed product is a third product for CABRC. So definitely we need to again look into that fact. That is the reason why most of the times we say that your carton box will be consisting of 2 formulations, keep them separate, then at the time of probably mixing or using, the recommendation can go like that, if it is okay. Then again, coming to the NGOs and other things, I was a bit worried when our earlier speaker, Sudha Reddy Madam, was telling that recommending biopesticides which are fully validated, fully having all quality specifications on ground, all the regulations that are already made, mixing it with panchakavya, mixing it with what you call buttermilk. We don't say, we are not at all against the biodynamic formulations. All these panchakavya, bijamrut, javamrut, ghanajivamrut, all of them are scientifically validated, but they are not the products. They are the process. It is the process formulated products. I can prepare panchakavya in a different way. Somebody else can prepare panchakavya in a different way. There are no quality standards as of now fixed. So if I mix my fully registered manufacturing license holding product of metrrhizum anisopli with panchakavya or buttermilk and other thing, I am making my legal product into illegal product. That's what I understand. Probably we need to be very careful while going for this thing. Okay, farmer mixes it, no problem. Actually what happens is that as per the Insecticide Act, everywhere, everybody, manufacturer, producer, dealer, everybody is under act, including farmer. But in our country, by being a democratic country, we can't go to the farmer telling that you are violated law and other thing. So we need to sensitize that. Then technical auditing, I already told. And again, some of the things like quality testing of the biopesticides and some of the biofertilizers also. Now government is very keen from regulatory point of view to increase the number of the laboratories by notifying them at like state level. The Principal Secretary Agriculture of the concerned state, he is actually authorized to notify a laboratory provided the infrastructure is there to go for quality testing. And as rightly told in Hyderabad NIPHM, like 16 laboratories are there across the country wherein you can get your quality testing done if they are not covered under the Act. If they are already covered under the Act, we have a set procedure. If you have a product which is not covered under the Act, but you do have some quality issues, they can get tested at those 16 laboratories and can get whatever the government requirements or the fulfillments which you need to do, especially for those programs which our earlier speaker, Honorable DG Manage has told. All the programs which he has shown, it is a good opportunity for you. But once the tender will be called by any one of the program for the products of your company and other thing, you have to follow all the rules and regulation. The door which my earlier speaker has shown is very wide door, but it has to go through a narrow door of regulation again. Then everything will come, label claim will come, registration will come, manufacturing validity will come, all these things will come. If you really make use of the earlier presentation, the programs wherein your products can be really having potential to go, then you need to definitely see that the other things meant for the regulatory requirement has to be complied with. These are some of the issues which we are pressurizing that whatever chakra it may be, That is the thing is that we need to write the organism, we need to write the strain and everything. Without this, any wonder product come. In fact, I don't know how many of you agree with or not. These products are almost set aside. Now the wonder products has come. You use this thing, plant will become like a Tarzan and it can resist anything. So all those things, and they will give such a procedure. By reading that procedure of the application, you will get some dignity to it, that we have to do these things. So these are the important these things. The last thing which I wanted to, I'm just looking at this thing, 1 more minute? 1 minute, yeah. This label claim issues, in fact, I put several of questions here. The questions probably which you will be getting in your mind with regard to the, I know many of the, now we are all co-advisors of this BIPA, but maybe years back, decade back, I was villain for all of them. I was villain for all of them for raising the issue of the label claim, which I was asked to raise by the government of India, that unless until the CIBRC gives label claim for that product at the time of registration, it is illegal to recommend that, use that, procure that. Recommendation is, I cannot recommend as a scientist, produce as you people, then procure by the government programs which has already been told. Nobody is authorized to procure any product despite fully knowing, having the data that it works. But he cannot procure unless until approved label claim by CIBRC is there for that product in that crop, for that pest or disease or weed. So these are the things which we can do. Only thing is that we need to put it in a place where they need to be done. So these are some of the questions. I will not go into the details where it should be used, what is strictly followed, what is moderately followed, what least followed. Actually, the left side of the green is illegal one, which I am also showing. As a regulatory person, we don't have any rule which is a strict rule, which is a moderate rule, and which is a least rule. But as of now, as on today, at least that is to be practiced. This is the flexibility we are given. And some of the data, all these things you can ask during the panel discussion, that these are some of the issues. I hope whatever the questions I used to get it from K.R.K. Reddy, Lakshmi Narayan Garu, all of them, that why this has to be done, sir, why my product cannot be used in a crop where fully scientific community are giving the data, performance data is there. These are the ways we need to go for. So these are some of the questions which I put it here. You can discuss it during this thing. So ultimately what I want to tell is that if this comes, then we need to, only thing what I understood, after becoming a scientist, what I understood is that along with the regular science, regulatory science is known to scientist himself. Probably the product which is coming up to you from us will be already having some of the things which are already required for the regulatory mechanism. With this positive note, I thank again all the BIPA organizers for giving me this opportunity to share our thoughts. As I am telling honestly, all your feedback will be useful for us to carry it to Government of India. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Rahman Garu. Thank you very much. He is a scientist come conscience keeper for industry. He was part of RAID for the industry, part of encouragement for the industry, technology developer. So we respect him a lot in our industry as a good, as you said, science. What the last one was interesting, sir. Regulatory science. Regular science and regulatory science. So he knows both. So thanks for giving us a good guidance to us. Now we have with us an eminent speaker, Mr. Ram Kaundinya. He is our industry colleague for last 40 years for all of us. He has led leading companies like Cyanamide, Hext, then Seed Advanta, Global Chief of Advanta, then Seed, and he got seed and crop protection industry experience. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Is this working? I would prefer this. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here, and thanks to BIPA, right? BIPA for inviting me. It is a privilege, and I am not from the bio industry, but I will try to do justice to what I have to speak about. That is improving the market shares and what is called presence of the industry. So I think The point I wanted to mainly emphasize upon is that many innovations and many new ideas, many game-changing ideas can be very good in small volumes and small quantities and in niche markets. How do we make them scale up? Because scale up is the only way you can create impact. If impact is not created on a large scale, then your innovations will remain small and they will never be able to give large scale benefit to the society or the farmers. From that point of view, a few of my suggestions on how to scale up are there. But we have to understand that scale up has to happen through commercial viability. You know, commercial viability is very important for scale up. So unless we are able to offer solutions which are commercially viable for the producers as well as for the farmers, it will not scale up. So I think that point we have to keep in mind. But let me go through some of these things. So there are many opportunities. I think you must have gone through a lot of them. But let me just highlight that the need for organic and demand for organic is growing. The need to prevent erosion of natural resources is growing. There is a lot of emphasis on value chain development by the government and also by the farmers' organizations for both domestic and exports. And contract farming is coming up in a big way. And export of bioproducts is a great opportunity. I am glad that a couple of talks are there after my talk about the export opportunities. But there are many challenges in this. And I think the biggest challenge, in my opinion, is that farmer needs immediate results, knockdown, what he calls, and biological products deliver slow release benefits. So this is a big bottleneck for actually scaling up. Second is that industry had a lot of players who mixed chemicals with biological products, and that created a lot of apprehension, and the need for regulation actually came out of that. So that also has actually spoiled the image to some extent. Lack of differentiation and cutting edge products. I think what can help industry to grow more is to have cutting edge products with high level of investment in research. That has to come. Still dominated by government purchases. I think unless the private purchases really scale up in a big way, it will be difficult for common man, common farmer, and common market to develop. Market will develop over a period of time. I have no doubt about that. This is a market which is a sunrise industry. It will develop. A tipping point will come when this will grow from a medium-sized or small-sized industry to a large, impactful industry. I have no doubt about that, but we have to see how long it will take. There are 7 strategies I would like to suggest. The first thing is we have to identify what is the target market. I think this is a very fundamental thing we do in marketing, that you must know what is your product, who is your competitor, and what is the right target market that you have to focus upon. There's no point in running all over the place because everybody will not accept this product. There are some areas where this product will be accepted much faster. For example, organic cultivators, chemical-free cultivators, value chain cultivators, greenhouse, and export-oriented crop production which doesn't want any chemical residues. These are obvious choices. These are the low-hanging fruits. But I would like to suggest 2 areas which are slightly higher-level fruits where pests have developed resistance to chemicals. That could become an easy target for you. For example, pink bollworm in cotton is an area where farmer needs an answer. And there is no chemical answer right now because pink bollworm, as you know, as a pest, enters the boll at a very early stage, and then after that you can't kill it with chemicals. So you need actually some solutions for that as soon as it comes out of the egg. So is there something you can do? Similarly, there are other pests and diseases where chemical solutions are not very effective. Secondly, where chemical residues are a limiting factor, where you need products without chemical residues. So can you provide some kind of a package in which you have a package of chemical products and biological products applied in sequence, which gives you a eventual output without chemical residues. Those kind of schedules have to be worked out through very technical work at the farmer's level. So that is also another area where I would say that we must spend more time. You must have separate action plans for chemicals intensive areas and areas where chemicals are not intensive. In India, we always say our averages are low because our denominators are high. When you divide the overall pesticide consumption with the total acreage, it will always look like much lower than anywhere else in the world. But we have areas where chemical usage is much higher than anywhere else in the world. And there we have many areas where chemical usage is very low and very, very low. I think you have to choose your battlegrounds. When you choose your battleground properly, you may be able to develop different products and different packages for different geographies. That is also something which you must keep in mind. Point number 2 is that research and product innovation are very important. And here I would lay emphasis on uniqueness of the product. Each product has to be unique and different from the others, and it should be commercially viable product. It is not that for the sake of research we develop a product. Research has to be market driven, research must be commercially viable. These two are very important considerations, and that's where we must invest. And they must address farmers' real problems. It is not a fancy thing, because in India we still have many farmers, many consumers who need low cost food. We still have 1.5 lakh crores of food subsidy in the country. That means there are many crores of people, 30-40 crores of people below poverty line. So there is a need for producing low cost food. There are some people who can consume high cost food. So we have to also look at how do we innovate products which can be useful for both. That's where commercial viability comes into picture, and they must be market-driven products. The third point is that you have to balance the product portfolio between niche markets and wider application markets. Many products have remained niche products currently, but I think if you can have good niche products where the margins are higher, but invest them in developing some of the wider application products where you can compete on the cost front, that will be another way of balancing your portfolio and then bringing out solutions to the farmers. Fourth point I would like to mention is that quality has to be of the highest order. Our biological products here should be of the same quality as anywhere else in the world. So I think world-class quality, how can we get into our products? Consistency of quality and with a distinct efficacy. Biological products have a particular way of showing the result, which is very different from the way chemical products show result. So we should be able to actually identify those things, and we should be able to recognize and show it to the farmer, but that comes out of really top quality products. So that is another area, and even packaging, one has to pay attention that it should avoid adverse effects due to heat, UV, sunlight exposure, and things like that. So there should be zero contamination with chemicals, and that is also something which responsible manufacturers have to ensure. Point number 5 is that we have to learn to create new markets. I think all your work actually involves creating new markets, because these are not existing markets. So creating new markets is a skill by itself, and that is not something which you can get by offering discounts and things like that. That's not the way these products can be sold. So we have to create demand and farmer level work in terms of training programs, in terms of demonstrations, various ways of convincing the farmer, and focus on the market segments where adoption can be faster. You have to identify such market segments and solve the problems of the farmers. You have to demonstrate the value proposition. We must understand what is the value we are actually delivering, we are promising, and that you must be able to demonstrate to the farmer. Community approach in villages could be also more useful than just individual ones, because that is something where products like this, which have a slower result, can be more effective. And like I said, we should not sell them like we sell chemicals. Solution-based approach is very important. It's not like selling a product and running away from the village. That kind of approach chemicals had for a long time. And now it is not possible to even sell chemicals in that approach. So you need to provide full solutions to the farmers from end to end. How do you make sure that the farmer finally finds value in that? He makes money out of it. His profitability is enhanced. I think that is the objective with which we have to work. It is not just selling the product. And number 6 point I would like to mention is that key strategic partnerships with agri-input companies or contract farming companies, distribution channels, but agri-tech enterprise. I think Dr. Chandrasekhar also showed that there are many agri-tech enterprises which are coming up, which are adding huge value to companies like this. They can actually deliver your products in a much better way to the market, and also they can create more value for the farmer in the way your products can be applied. They can play a role in that. So I think it is very important to tie up. It is very important to collaborate. We have to also learn the art of collaboration. I'm sure all of you are doing it, but I would like to emphasize once more that collaboration is the way forward. Point number 7 is a very important point, that have the right people in your team. I think business of biological products is very different. So you need people who are very different in the team. Whether they are researchers, they are marketing people, their ability to actually see value, deliver value, is very different from the way it is seen in chemical business. So I think they need to be patient and persuasive, inquisitive, innovative, and involved. A lot of involvement and passion is required in this, but they have to spend a lot of time in understanding the problems of the farmer. I think that is very important to make even tailor-made solutions to the farmers' problems, and they have to build trust with the farmers. So for all this, it is very important to build technically competent people in the front line. Those who meet the farmers must be technically competent, they must be trained well, they must have enough knowledge so that they can construct solutions for farmers' problems. It is not like they can't go with ready-made solutions and try to drive them down the throats of the farmers. You have to construct solutions for each farmer's problems. I think that is a very important thing, because the effects and symptoms are subtle. The effect of the product is very subtle. It is not like a chemical where it is very obvious. And so you need that technical competence to actually demonstrate those things. So those are the 7 points I wanted to mention, and my last slide is about some of the key initiatives that I would recommend. The first is that intensive education of farmers and consumers. Businesses are driven by demand. If the consumers demand more and more organic product or chemical-free product, there will be more production of such agricultural produce. So I think demand drives businesses, demand drives industries. So it is also equally important for you to invest in educating the consumer, not only the farmer, also the consumer, about the benefits of this type of products, this type of agricultural produce, in which your inputs can be used. Second is collaborative research projects. I would like to emphasize once again the importance and the primacy of research in this kind of businesses. This is not a generic business. This is a very research-oriented business. So you must also work on collaborative research projects. And research, as we know, is a function of size. Research cannot be done by investing 20, 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs every year. Research is a function of size. Instead of 10 people investing 1 crore each, all of them together investing 10 crores in one project will give you better results. So I think there is a need. I would recommend that we should look at creating large-scale projects, PPP projects. I saw some fantastic presentations today by scientists from public institutions also. I think there should be a kind of a PPP structure in which private industry can contribute funds, contribute manpower, contribute infrastructure, contribute technical knowledge, and share resources, and the output is shared by both. That is the way we have to structure this. We have to create IP. At the end of the day, research must create IP. Without creating IP, research has no role actually. Because otherwise it's just a copy thing. We can't live long, we can't grow big through copying. We have to create original products, and that is through research. So collaborative research projects, I will actually put it on the number 1 actually, although here I listed as number 2. Shelf life must be improved. That is also another area where in marketing it becomes very important. Then you have to include your product in the positive list of importers of agricultural produce. So countries which import agricultural produce from India, India wants to increase agricultural exports from current $40 billion to $100 billion in the next 5 years. This cannot happen unless we reduce chemical residues in exports. So get your products included in the list of approved products by the importing countries. That recommendation will be useful for you. Then finally, you must dialogue with the government on supportive regulatory policy. Regulation must facilitate business. Regulation should not hamper business. I think that is where we need, but facilitate business in a responsible way. That regulation should actually help businesses to grow in a structured way. I always say that the brakes in a car are not meant to stop the car. Brakes in the car are to help you to drive faster so that you can stop whenever you are going out of control. So that is the purpose of regulation also. The regulation should help you to grow faster, but at the same time putting guardrails in place. So that is, for that you need to continuously dialogue with the government. Enforcement against spurious operators. This, I think, for the sake of the industry, you must make this into an effort and a project to make this free of such spurious operators. And export market development, which needs a lot of investment. So finally, I would like to say that there are no silver bullets. No single technology can solve all the problems of all the farmers. Let us be very clear about that. The entire country will never be covered by biological products. Entire country will never be covered by chemical products. Entire country will never be covered by GM products. I think we have to understand that there is a place for everything where each technology delivers maximum value. And as marketeers, it is our duty to identify such spots where our products can deliver maximum value. I think that is the key. And farmer needs full solutions at the end of it. He needs end-to-end solutions. So we can't just provide one link in the full solution and say that this is the answer. We must find full solutions for farmers' problems. Then only we can grow and scale up much faster. So those are a few things from my side. You are all experts in biological products. But as a marketing expert, I thought I will just add these things. And if it helps you, I'll be very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ram Kaundinya. It was really indeed a good strategic advice to our new industry. Take-home points, we don't remain in niche market, don't remain in so-called boutique market, adopt strategies for scalability. We are creating new markets, create a new market. You are in a new technology business. Thank you. And don't jump into schemes and, smiling discount, laughing discount, Bangkok discount, Thailand discounts as of now. Create demand. Very well said advice to us. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Mr. Jonas. Spelling is Jonas. If it is Spanish, we'll say Jonas. His Latin, Jonas. He is from, as explained, from Lithuania. He's already sourcing from India. His perspective as a European customer of sourcing from India, I thought let's hear some horse mouth. Welcome, Jonas. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So while I'm waiting, slides are here already. So nice to see you all here. I'm more than happy to participate in this conference. And before going into the business details, just short remark to Lithuanian language. We spell all our male nouns with the end EAS, as my name Jonas. So we do the same for all nouns, and including city names. So when we spell your city name, the place we are now, it's Haider badass. So being in this really badass city, which is thriving with biotechnology, I'm very happy. And I see from all what I heard today that the future is bright, and I'm extremely, what is extremely different from many conferences where we be internationally, your openness to share the knowledge, not to be secretive about new findings, etc. Because we are kind of in the same boat altogether, because we are kind of growing all together and we need to share the knowledge. So I'll tell a bit more about our company. So Nando is a Lithuanian-based company, and our legacy business was for many years actually tank mix adjuvants, which is still a very important business for us. But around 7 years ago, we also opened new department, microbiological products, in cooperation with Mr. Venkatesh and AgriLife team. And we, since then, have established one of the biggest research and development centers in our region, where we not only inspect the products, do all the trials, but also create formulations and try to understand how everything works. And this is one of our leading products. We call it BioSpectrum. So it's developed with AgriLife, amazing consortium of bacteria, researched in many countries, in more than 10 countries, different climate conditions, different soils, and really working well in almost all the cases, includes all main nutrition sourcing bacteria, and also mycorrhizal fungi. So we're really proud having this product developed together with Mr. Venkatesh team, like it was creation of cooperation. And at the moment, we are working in several markets, mostly around us, so Central and Eastern Europe, post-Soviet countries, like Poland, Ukraine, Georgia, Kazakhstan. And all these countries combined makes 3,000 square meters of agricultural land. Interesting fact is that Kazakhstan alone makes 2,000 square meters of agricultural land, even though the season is like 5 months and the temperature goes from minus 40 to plus 40. So every country is very different. So Kazakhstan is basically the same in agricultural size as India. And what we are targeting from now on, basically all the Europe, but primarily target is Africa and Latin America. And the biggest challenge with Europe is ongoing regulational issues. So we see really brighter perspective in Latin America and Africa, where we want to expand from now on. And every market where we work is very different. And working conditions, how do we enter market, how do we sell, how do we create all the supply chain, training, local support is very different. And it's based on climate, on cultural things, and also on farmer sizes, like many things. Just a couple numbers to understand that things can be different or similar. Milk price for farmer in India is higher than in Lithuania. And Lithuania is still not the lowest paying country for the farmers for milk. Argentina is even about half as little as Lithuania. So globally, it's kind of challenging, and it's of course caused by over subsidies by many governments, and these kind of things makes all the business very tricky. Average farm size is very different. If in India you have around 1 hectare as average farm, in Lithuania we have 20 times bigger average farm, or around 20 hectares, while in Ukraine it's 100 hectares. You still have enormous 200,000 hectares and similar farms, which are usually called holdings, which you can work as with in terms of sales. It can be the same as entire country in some Central Europe, one client. So this needs for sure different approach. And average farmer size is a very interesting thing. Europe is aging. Farmers, there are a lot of programs what to do with that. Average age of farmer in Europe Union is 65 years old. You are not so much better in India, but still 50 years old is much better. So this is growing challenge for all of the world, in Europe as well. And getting more deeply into the cooperation, how we built with AgriLife, my primary message for that is that really open cards cooperation is needed. And in every stage you have to trust your partner and go with it the same steps, like together. So out of this cooperation, many good things can happen, as you can get really audited and certified by different institutions, as for example EcoCert, which gives us the eco label for all our products. We have developed the very intense and protocols-based quality control system through entire process from manufacturing strains here in India till the farmer warehouse. The entire process is monitored and quality of livelihood of microbials are inspected. And last but not least, and maybe one of the most important things, is that in the form of agreement with AgriLife, we redeposited the strains into a couple of different microbial banks in Europe, depending on different regulations. For Europe Union, we use Belgium Bacterial Bank. Belgium is like life science hub in Europe. And for more East Europe, we use Ukrainian banks. So it's also done in cooperation. So we kind of Europeanized the strains and got approvals from local depositories. And you really need this open card cooperation when everything changes. And everything changes so rapidly. When COVID hit us, the air cargo costs in a couple months increased 4 times, making it basically impossible to stay in the business while if you continue with final formulations being developed and packaged overseas. You really need to be clever and put at least some of production closer to customer to avoid these enormous cargo prices. And with microbials, basically only air works. So we had to be clever, and later on I will tell you how we solved that. So here's basically our whole history of cooperation, how it started and how we developed it. So we started in 2015, basically presented a couple of initial formulations to the local clients, did research, got good results, and we started from there. In 2017, we developed the Research and Developer Center, where all the quality control procedures were set up and microbiology laboratory was fully developed. And 2018, we got into deeper regulatory things because every country is different, and we started that strains redepository to Europe thing. And 2020 was very clever thing what we did, at the beginning of it, because of the slides I showed you before. So we made the strategic decision to work with technical grain strains, highly concentrated, and we do all the final formulations, additional additives, carriers, everything in Lithuania. And it helps us not only to sustain the quality through all the process, but also limit the cargo cost and keep above the water with the business. So from now on, we want to continue deepen our cooperation, and this is one of the reasons why we are here. We want together to move part of even fermentation into Lithuania while establishing joint venture company in Lithuania with AgriLife. So this is basically 8 years continuous growth story, which I believe should happen with strategic partners for many of you who really want to go into global companies. Because simply selling things can be tricky as environment, regulation, and everything is changing all the time. And the last slide from my side, as Mr. Venkatesh began with that, I would like to finish. Don't worry, Eat Mangoes. When we hit, the problems hit us, and problems hit us all the time. We always say that, and this is the picture from 2018, just before all this COVID thing in my house, when we had the dinner together, like my family and business associates of our company. So, yeah, the friendship is the key thing, after all, to do these kind of businesses overseas. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonas, for sharing your nice, candid views. Yes, I said, don't worry, eat mangoes. We would like to bother ourselves counting, cooking, growing, supplying good quality mangoes. The best lesson we learn from is how to make India as a resource center. We have a caste arbitrage advantage. We have a age advantage, scientific pool of talent, excellent research institutions, government support. We have an exemplary environment here. And all of us, like, innovation is in our blood. Morning, somebody said a fantastic statement. With this being the case, I'm sure India can be a good resource center, a sourcing base for bio-agri inputs for many companies across the world. Apart from here, we have from Sri Lanka, I would like to welcome here. They came all the way. Vimukti and Nihal, where are they here? Oh, yes, please get up. Please get up. They are from Sri Lanka, company called OPEX. They came all the way here. They became members of an association. Our cooperation with them is just starting. And Sri Lanka has become organic state suddenly. They are really struggling to find out how they can bridge the gap. I welcome them to continue cooperation like that. Like this, we have been lucky to have good contacts, and then we hope to grow more from here. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think the last presentation is mine. It won't take more than 2 minutes. It will not bore you. Already we are late by 9 in time. So basically, business opportunities for international biological products for international markets. Thank you. Next. Next slide. Already we have a fairly large opportunity told by everybody. See, we have a $70 billion crop protection market worldwide, $200 billion pest nutrition market, $270 million market we are talking between nutrition and crop protection. Even if 1%, 2% market share we take in this 270 billion market, it is something like 4 or 5 billion market can be there for us. Then we have on top of it 70 billion organic food industry. Don't you feel 5% of the product should be crop protection? So organic food industry, which is 70 billion, alone can be 3.5 billion crop protection product opportunity. Not just biological, certified biologicals. That is the way forward. So next, this $4 to 5 to $6 billion can be a great opportunity. As I said, we have a great advantage. We have great scientists in India, committed, passionate scientists. We have technologists working very hard, business promoters deploying money, investment, taking risk, and innumerable technicians. You want, right from ITI to IIT, we call them. We have immense pool of technicians, engineers, scientists. And I must first say, happy to share very positive regulatory environment. Talk to any European company, they start crying, Brussels, European Union, how difficult it is. Same case with EPA. We have an excellent, very positive regulatory environment. Our regulators are quite understanding. As associations, we approach them, they listen to scientists, they listen to industry, and they come out with something which is workable. This is the advantage we have got in terms of advantage in India. Next. With this, India, I don't say as a first mover, we also have a fast mover advantage. For example, European Union doesn't have biostimulant regulatory even today. They haven't even defined it officially, what is biostimulant. USA, they do not have an official definition of biostimulants. We have a definition, a gazette notification, a clarification, and a dialogue going on. With this kind of a thing, we have an advantage of, very fast-moving advantage, the arbitrage benefits of cost, and biodiversity law is well defined in India. State national biodiversity authority is there. We have state biodiversity boards. Access benefit sharing agreements are clearly drawn. Royalties are well defined here. And we have National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Microbes. Dr. Saxena Saab is here, giving us support of storing all the microbes and making it them official babies with strain number, accession number. Now some microbe, with Jatakam, with all the nomenclature, accession number. With all this, we have a great benefit to look at future. Next. And this way, India can be a good sourcing hub for bio-agri inputs. Like today, software, BPO, automobile spare part, auto engineering. Like this, we have many ways, areas where India has a tremendous advantage. I firmly believe that bio-agri inputs, we have a tremendous advantage, and all of us together can grow and should grow. And with this conclusion, I am happy to conclude last session 2 minutes before our deadline. So 5:15, 5:13, we're concluding. Thanks, Raj, for keeping a headmaster look all the time. And I'm happy for all the participants here. And my panel is here to take few questions. Thank you very much here. Over to you.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the deliberations and the presentations. It's been excellent, highly professional. And there's one comment actually by Dr. Ram Kaunulya. Brakes are not for slowing down the car, but to speed up. Excellent statement actually. And by Dr. Rahman, regular science leads to regulatory science, and regulatory science also leads to regular science. We appreciate. So and also, it was mentioned about the PPP mode actually has to be done in a big way. I think BIPA has to take a lead and then in a big way, because there are so many people, industries. The PPP board, a lot of things can happen actually, and BIPA can also circulate the emails of all the delegates to everyone, so that you'll have a network, and then you will be networking in a continuous manner. And then some corpus fund creation, working with the industries, working with the institutions, government institutions for generating the data. Even Dr. Rahman was telling actually about the label claim expansion. There is a tremendous scope actually that BIPA can play for the label claim expansions actually with the support of all the industries. So there are so many industries here, and there is a need to bring many more industries, bring all your friends, because excellent science happens at BIPA. And today and yesterday you have seen actually it has been highly professional and great deliberations. The mixture of everything actually was given to the industry as a package. So we really appreciate the BIPA, and I think we should give a big hand to BIPA. So great. It's I feel that I'm in an international conference, because where everything was structured so wonderfully and taken, very wonderfully, delivered very wonderfully. The hospitality and all excellent everything was very good. And I also have a suggestion for BIPA actually. Give some time for the networking. No tea, no coffee, but separately a networking time and networking tables. So probably next time when you are doing it actually, exclusively networking time actually, probably around half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, so that people can meet. So probably discussing over the lunch may not be really advisable, and it's not so great actually. So something like this can happen. And morning, I forgot to mention about, there are so many great entomologists actually, Dr. Rahman and also Dr. Kamla Jayanti, Dr. Abram Verghese. I forgot to mention about Dr. Vimla Devi. Vimla Devi is a torchbearer for the biopesticide industry who have taken the, BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, to the various industries. I think she has just left actually. So I would have been happy actually, to tell about her because she is a lady entomologist who did a lot for the industry. And Bacillus thuringiensis, for any queries, actually you can contact her. And there are so many things which I want to tell, but then I would like to give the opportunity for other people to share their views. And then thanks a lot. I really enjoyed, and then I'm happy to be advisor of BIPA and continue to support BIPA and let all the industry join the hands and then do a great thing actually, which is going to be happening actually in the form of BIPA, where the policymakers, technocrats, and the bureaucrats can be, promoted. It can be, collaborated, and a lot of things can happen in the PPP mode. India needs all of you, and India needs BIPA in a big way. Thank you.
Thank you all. A very nice session. Take home, actually, I really liked regular science and regulatory science. Today's highlight, I think. And Ram has taken us back to sales training manual. Today it was really reliving our old young age, and really nice. I think the word suggested on PPP, I want to share my view. The government PPP programs should be more attractive to the industry. Now, what is happening is, see, they are asking for, at every level, if there is a royalty payment on any signing of MOUs, a royalty is there. On taking a technology, there is royalties. There are some are justified, some may be a little difficult to add on, because in today's situation, we are ending up paying 18% GST also on that. So this all is getting added in certain way. There was recently, there was one program by university on the PPP, this thing, that is where also we suggested this. So it should be limited to not more than 2%, because if there are two steps and it is 4% and then 18% on 4%, I don't think when we are thinking of a scale up, at 5% will be too much and too high. I think this also should be taken into consideration, and we need a little hand-holding for some time as a stakeholders from industry point of view also. The policymakers and the academia should be treating us as a very close and important linkage in their ways of working, reaching their technologies to the farmer. We will be a very good linkage. So please appreciate, and we all will be giving you complete attention and support. Let us all make it better together. Thank you.